Alright everyone, I just got done skinning this beaver, and a couple people have asked to see how I remove castors. This one really ain't got many castors, but I'm gonna go ahead and take them out. Was a real nice beaver. Nice hide on there, real nice and thick. A lot of people are saying hatter market and that, but still a good market to the right buyer, even a little more than just getting weight on the pelt for the hatter market if they're still shearable in that. So just keep that in mind, especially if you're in like the northern region. Not every beaver needs to be sold under that hatter market. So, but anyways, so what I do here first is I cut myself an opening, and I'm just being careful so I don't hit the castors. I just get some of the skin away so I can expose them, and I hope that's showing up. Move my hand. You can start to see the castor there. So once I do that, now it's pretty much all thumb work here. Getting this membrane pulled back away from it. Being careful to try not to rip them. And if you break that membrane open in certain spots, you can kind of just like rolling a sock off of your foot, roll the castor out of this membrane. Some are a little more brittle than others. I find it best if you let them sit a couple days if the temperature's right, to let your beaver sit. Now this one here, I wish I can get a better angle on it. You can see this membrane still holding on to it real tight. This is where you just got to be careful. You can kind of pull up the thin membrane part, and I just need to get that broke open so I can get in there and unroll that. And there's probably way better ways of doing this. This is just how I've always done it. Honestly, I think sometimes it takes longer to get the castors out of a beaver than it does to skin it sometimes, depending on how clean you want them to end up being. But it does not take much at all to rip a castor right open. So all I'm doing is, there's some more membrane there. I'm putting a dull edge against the castor and poking in that membrane and cutting it free. This allows me another spot for me to get my thumb in there and unroll these castors out of that membrane. Now, I don't sell my castor. I make lure out of mine. But you want to get these out as clean as you can. Or you're not going to get a fair price on your castor. You leave all that meat hanging on there. One, it can cause rot while it's trying to dry. So there, I got the castors out of that membrane. See, they're nice and clean. There's no meat on them. So now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to cut down to where I get down to the vent where it's going to be nice and clean. You don't want to cut up here and you'll cut the castors wide open. You'll see where to cut. It'll be a little peephole there, and these are still full of juice. So watch how hard you're squeezing the castors there. Like I said, if you let your beaver sit a little bit, it's better. And I'm just trying to keep this meat off that castor. And there you go. There's the castors out of the beaver. Nice and clean, no holes in them. They'll hold that juice in there and slowly dry. And nice. Hang them up to where they're not touching like this. I'm gonna keep them spread apart so they'll dry nice and even. And that's how I remove the castors out. Now for the oil sacks. Same thing, I don't want to leave too much meat on them. I do make a lure out of them though. Not for beaver. For canines. Cut them down. You want to get them as close to the vent as possible or the oil is going to start coming out. But leaving not a lot of meat on there. There's the oil sac right there. Now you can poke a little hole in this, squeeze it in a bottle. It'll work real good on beaver sets as well. As long as it's fresh, because that will start to get a heck of a funky smell to it once it sits a while. But fresh oil out of the oil sacks can actually work on a straight up castor shy beaver. But all I'm doing is getting down to this vent here while pulling on the oil sac. I'm going to keep as much of that vent material off of it. And there you go, another oil sac right there. I saved them just strictly for making another lure out of them. And then I add a little bit to some castor too. But they pretty much go in a big container, and I just keep salting each layer and keep layering them in there. And then after they sit a long while, turn around, grind them up, and they work great for a canine lure. Just a curiosity attractant, I guess. But that's how I remove the castors. There's the castors again. And nice and clean. Hang them up to dry. If you sell them, sell them. They got a decent price per pound this season. Not as good as some other seasons, but still pretty decent. If not, make your own beaver lure. There's nothing better than fresh castor lure, in my opinion. This was a female. I keep my female and my male castors separated for the lure I make. But that's how I remove castors.